But yeah, talking about Justin Fields, he
Hmm.
got signed by the New York Jets on a
Hmm.
2-year, $40 million deal that includes a guaranteed of 30 mil. That means 90% of his contract, baby.
Yeah, pretty much.
Guaranteed. That's awesome.
Yeah.
For the Jets, and then for Fields himself, how
Mhm.
is it playing in your head? How well can this go for both sides?
If I'm gonna be honest with you, I think this is kind of right around where I had Justin Fields. I mean, 20 mil a year is, I mean, a steal for a quarterback nowadays with what they're making, G Money.
Facts.
I think Justin Fields can play in the league. I mean, he showed a little bit in Chicago behind a not, you know, organization that didn't set him up for success. He goes to the Steelers. I mean, he's 4-2 in the 6 games that he starts. I thought he played, pretty well to the point where I said, why would you even bring in Russell Wilson? I mean, don't upset the apple
Facts.
cart until it's needed. Now, again,
Don't
Mike
fix what's
Tomlin
not
went with,
broken.
yeah, exactly. Mike Tomlin, Hall of Fame coach, went with Russell Wilson, and we see the Steelers had the kind of season that they had. But I think Justin Fields, I think this was good for him. You go to the Jets now. Granted, are the Jets the best organization? No, but they do have some weapons. You got a familiar face in Garrett Wilson, who you both played at Ohio State with. You know what I'm saying? You got some pieces over there. No Devontae anymore, but you got some pieces. You still got Lazard. I don't know who their I can't remember who their tight end is over there, if I'm not mistaken.
Coughlin.
Uh yeah, but you got Brees Hall in your backfield, so you don't have to put everything on Justin Fields' shoulder. And he's just a different dynamic. The RPO is very, can work very well in our game, in this 2025 in the game. You know what I mean? So it's just I love it for Justin Fields because again, this is also a prove it. Listen, it's not a lot of money for the Jets, and if I'm not mistaken, they almost can cut him with no type of penalty after the first year. So it's like a team option for the second year. Listen, you bet on yourself. You see what you can do. I think the Jets have an okay defense. You know what I'm saying? Like a definitely solid. Their issue is obviously the division. We know Buffalo runs that division. And then, you never know what you're going to get with Miami. New England is New England, but they got a new regimen. So maybe they might make it tough. So again, I don't think, there's not a whole lot of pressure on him. I think he can kind of just play free, get into the rhythm and stuff like that. And look, and if he wins, I mean, I think that'll be good for him. So I like this move for Justin Fields. And and for the Jets, again, I can't say per se just yet because I'm like I need to see it, like what it looks like on the field. But again, if it doesn't work out, then now the Jets are kind of just in the same place they were this year. Let's see if they really do an actual rebuild. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. For Fields, I think it's great because he gets to play with a familiar face, like you mentioned, in Garrett
Mhm.
Wilson. He's gonna have
Mhm.
someone who already he's built that chemistry with it back in Ohio State, so he doesn't
Mhm.
really have to work on it as much. Obviously, they will, but
Mhm.
you don't have to work on it as much. You have a running back in Brees Hall that's gonna help take that load off as well, so you could run a lot of play action. You could roam around, run the ball as well. We do know that Justin Fields is a great scrambling quarterback.
Mhm.
Um, the only problem that I see with this for Fields and for the Jets, it's something that I have alluded to many, many times on this show, many, many times on the other show, is the
Mhm.
fact that they need to address their offensive line. No
Yes.
matter what quarterback you bring into this system, with the offensive line that they have,
Mhm.
quarterbacks are going to be a disappointment
Yeah.
because of the fact that they can't block for the run, they can't pass block, they can't run block,
Mhm.
they can't help the offense flow like a well-oiled machine like it's supposed to. And if
Yeah.
you can't do that, you can't block for your running back, you can't block for your quarterback. How are you able to move downfield and get points up on the board? We're not talking
Mhm.
about field goals because we know that they can get field goals. They were one of
Yeah.
the top teams in the NFL last season when it came to field goal points.
Yep.
But you need to score touchdowns, man. And
Yes.
it can't be only on defense. We know the defense can get a lot of touchdowns.
Mhm.
It can't be on just Hail Mary plays or some freak accident plays that happen, and then you're trotting down fields for 80 yards. We've seen Brees Hall do that a few times. We've seen Garrett Wilson catch a catch for like 70 yards, 80 yards a bunch of times for sure. But we
Mhm.
got to be consistently moving the ball down the field. And if they
Yeah,
can't pass block or run block, it's going to be hard for Justin Fields to do anything out there, in my opinion.
yeah. I agree with you, G Money. One thing I also wanted to say, another thing as far as positive for Fields is now he doesn't have to look over his shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, and be like, oh man, if I make a mistake, like I'm done. There's Tyrod Taylor there. You know, Tyrod Taylor's been, pretty much a professional backup. He knows, the game and stuff like that. But I don't think Fields is gonna have to look over his shoulder and think about every time that he makes a mistake. So I think he'll be able to play a bit more carefree. And I agree with you 1,000% with the offensive line. Hopefully, the Jets try to address the offensive line in the draft. We'll see what happens with them. But you're absolutely right. Because, I mean, if the offensive line is still terrible, then you're just going to get the Chicago version of Justin Fields. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at least in Pittsburgh, they have a pretty good offensive line. And you saw he's able to do some things. You know what I'm saying? Again, he only had 6 games, to really get comfortable and stuff like that. And we know, it takes, some time whenever you're talking about getting into a new system, a new offensive coordinator, things of that nature. So, I'm excited, for Justin Fields. And I think, Jets fans, I think, are excited a little bit because, they haven't really had much to cheer about lately. So,
Yeah.